जय श्री माता जी। श्री माता जी के श्री चरणों पे नतमस्तक होकर प्रणाम करेंगे और बंधन लेंगे। त्रिमहामंत्र एवं श्री गणेश मंत्र। अब हम संतुलन करेंगे। बाएं हाथ श्री माता जी की तरफ, दाहिना हाथ धरती माँ पर। हृदय से प्रार्थना करेंगे, श्री माता जी कृपा करके हमारे ईड़ा नाड़ी की बाधाओं को धरती तत्व में खींच लीजिए। दाएं हाथ श्री माता जी की तरफ और बाएं हाथ आकाश की ओर। हृदय से प्रार्थना करेंगे। श्री माता जी, कृपा करके हमारे पिंगला नाड़ी की समस्त बाधाओं को आकाश तत्व में खींच लीजिए। दोनों हाथ श्री माता जी की तरफ, चित्त को सहस्त्रार पर रखेंगे। पूर्ण हृदय से श्री माता जी से प्रार्थना करेंगे। श्री माता जी, कृपा करके हमें निर्विचार स्थिति प्रदान कीजिए। अब हम श्री माता जी की अमृतवाणी सुनेंगे। तत्पश्चात कुछ समय ध्यान में ही रहेंगे।
I would like to welcome everybody, but particularly I want to have a word first before we do this afternoon's interview with some of you faithful letter writers that write into me and have different opinions about some of my Friday programs and other people that I interview who have different points of view from the mainstream of the Christian thinking of Radio 74. There are those of you who have written to me and said, I do not like anything that is not of, let's say in loose terms, born-again Christianity, and I don't think that a Christian station or anyone that calls itself Christian should have any other kinds of ideas there. There are others of you who write in to say, I understand that you have to be tolerant because you're the only English language station and it would get pretty rough for you if you weren't tolerant, and so therefore I accept this is some kind of a grudging condescension toward people of other points of view. Then I have, and this I value very much, I have had several businessmen who have said to me, I cannot stand religious programs, and I never listen to such, and it turns me off completely, except on the ones that you run, because you never try and sell me anything. You always say, listen, here's a new point of view, or how do you like this? How does this strike you? Or would you believe this? Or you just simply say, listen, here's something beautiful. And they say, therefore, I really enjoy for the first time listening to various people's points of view about God, about heaven, about the nature of man, about why we're all gathered here together on this earth and what we're working toward and why and how and could it be any better. So today, those of you who truly dislike hearing anything about those eternal questions that does not confine itself to your own specter of belief, I sincerely and with great love invite you to turn off your radio and go out and walk in the garden or look at the clouds or do something else. Make a cake. Go give it to somebody. Do a beautiful gesture. But this is not your place, because today we have with us someone whom I'm very eager to hear. I feel that I'm going to learn many, many things that I have never known before. A woman whose name is Sri
Mataji.
Mataji, I'm sorry.
Nirmala Devi is my name full.
Sri Mataji. And she has had some publicity in Geneva before, which was rather controversial, which she did not like and did not want. And I think that on Freely Speaking, which is our little Hyde Park corner here in this lovely corner of the Haute-Savoie, that it should be a privilege to listen to someone who has a message, and that we can decide very quietly within ourselves, with love and with reflection and with objectivity, whether we find something in there to take into our own hearts and use it. I feel obliged to say this so that we are on tape, so that you won't try and call in today. It would not be possible. We'll have an open time another day, and you will then be able to call in if you have something to say. But could you join me now in a very cordial and a very special welcome to Sri Mataji. A great welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
In the country of India, I know that there is much talk, and the word enlightenment is used in a way that perhaps we of this world don't fully understand. Would that be a place to start, that you talk to us a little bit about enlightenment and then go into your own message?
Yes. India has a special advantage over many other countries as far as the nature is concerned. Because the nature of our country is such that people don't have to worry so much of combating the nature. It's a warm country, and it's a very fertile country, and it doesn't require too much for you to exist in that place. You can even exist under a tree. You can lead a very, very simple life in India. And you need not have all the elaborations we need here to fight the nature. As a result of that, many people who were quite satisfied with their mundane life took to deeper seeking thousands of years back in that country, where they wanted to find out the secrets of life, and they wanted to know why we are on this earth and why we have to go on existing like that. Is there any greater purpose of our being here? And such people have been able to discover something very great, and that's what they call it as enlightenment that we have to have. But I would say it's not only that the Christians have talked about it, only Indians have talked, Christians have talked, and Islamic religion has talked, of course Moses has talked, everybody has talked about it, that you have to become the spirit.
That you have to become
The spirit.
the spirit.
You have to be born again of the spirit.
Of the spirit. And this is a common thread through all the religions.
But the difference between the Indian life and the Western life is basically one. And that is that we believe that all our efforts should be that, to be the spirit in India, basically. And outside it is not so. That all of our efforts should be that is not so. Secondly, there's one more point which is very, very subtle, and if you understand with little tolerance, it is that in India, religion is not organized so that it is not brought to the artificial level. If you have to become the spirit, then it has to be the living process by the living force of evolution. So you cannot just brand somebody. You cannot say that you are that. You see, this is the problem. While here people can become Christians without getting the proper experience of being Christian, or they can be Muslims without becoming really the Muslims. The really to become something is a happening within us, which comes through the evolutionary process of a living process of a living God, which everybody has talked of. Now, why people have organized religion here, this I cannot explain. Because they are organizing everything in the West. Perhaps they are also organizing God with it. But in India, they understand that you cannot organize it. It's a happening that has to happen. And because thousands of years back, people have been looking into it, so they know what to expect when you are enlightened. What happens to you? What happens to your consciousness? They know that your consciousness has to change, that you have to be at a higher consciousness, and that is called as Samuhik Chetna, means collective consciousness.
And there can be a universal good collective consciousness and a universal...
Yes, and that you become a part and parcel of that whole. You become, in the sense that you have the consciousness in your central nervous system. You can feel the other person. For example, supposing I can feel you. I can feel your centers. Then you are not the other, you are me. Then there is no other. This is a happening which is a reality, which is not just supposition or a mental projection or an organization.
Is this in any way the equivalent, like in Christian Science, they speak of one mind in the universe?
Of course, the same. Of course, the same. In India, Christ is respected as Mahavishnu. He is described thousands of years back. Even before he came to this earth, he is described there. But you see, people never connected in India Christ with Mahavishnu, because the image we got of Christ was very funny.
How was that?
First of all, the image we got that we can get converted. That is absurd for us, because how can you get converted? You see, by branding somebody, how can you become better?
How can you become better, you say?
Just if you brand somebody now, supposing I say I'm the governor, do I become a governor? You see, the becoming part is missing. So we couldn't understand what sort of a Christ this must be, who has sent these people just to brand us something like Christians. And then secondly, the another image we had about Christ was that he is the one who talks of the Spirit and nothing else. So the people who have to do the work of Christ have to give enlightenment. They are to be enlightened people.
And this enlightenment is truly becoming one with the
whole,
Holy Spirit.
With the whole.
Now, does this have anything to do with what I understand as nirvana, or eventually rising so high in consciousness that you become a blend, like a drop of water would blend into the ocean?
Yes, same thing. It's the same thing.
So you eventually would lose your individuality?
No, you do not lose your individuality, but it is like, you see, the trees, if you see, every leaf is different.
Yes.
But it's supplied by the same source. If the leaf becomes conscious of the source, it doesn't leave its identity, but is conscious of the source and is nourished by the source.
And in being conscious of the source and putting your own...
enlightened.
Conscious of the source is being enlightened.
Yes. And on the central nervous system. Conscious doesn't mean mental. On the central nervous system, you should feel the force flowing through your fingers.
That's maybe equivalent to something in Christianity where some days you say, I feel today I'm enveloped in grace.
But it is not today. Once you have it, you have it.
You have it all the time?
Yes. So it is not today. But in Christianity, what you say is true Christianity is nothing but enlightenment. True Christianity. Again, I say true Christianity. This is true baptism I am talking about, where you actually see the rising of the force from the sacrum bone with your naked eyes, which pulsates through, reaches your fontanelle bone area on top of your head and gives you baptism so that you can feel the cool breeze of the Holy Ghost coming out of your head. Actually, you see that.
How do you feel that? How does this happen?
It happens spontaneously. It has to be a living process. How do those living things happen? Supposing you ask me a question, how does a seed sprout? What will I say? You put it in the Mother Earth and it does. So I'll tell you the history about it, the consciousness, if you follow it. That first of all, you see, it was the masculine development of the consciousness, like going extroversion. You can say going outward, like the tree growing too much sort of thing. And all these things have developed so much, have gone to an extent now that it has to stop. Now, what is the second part of it is, now as you see in the world, there is feminine consciousness coming into play. Of course, in a wrong way, maybe like a pendulum. It is a rebellion. They are going into a rebellion, which is nonsense, you see. And maybe that they are acting just like human men and thinking that they are sort of achieving something great in consciousness is wrong. What you have to do, the consciousness always moves spirally higher. Whenever you become from one to another, you are born at a higher consciousness. So this is rebellion. I am talking of revolution that has to take place. Now this revolution will only take place when this masculine development will achieve its nourishment from the feminine part. See, from the womb, from the Mother Earth. You see, so far we have been exploiting the Mother Earth, you see, creating all kinds of problems, the men as they have done it. Now they have to take the nourishment. And this is the time where the force that I am telling you, which is called as Kundalini, it represents the womb. It represents that feminine personality within us which rises. It's called as also as Kumbha, which you call as Aquarius. It represents the Aquarius, and that's why this is the age of the Aquarius, where this Kundalini rises and she gives you the realization. First, human beings had to be developed up to the stage as you are, and then this Kundalini had to rise. So the time has come, the blossom time has come. All described in the Bible also.
How? Where?
Of course, they said the Comforter will come. Christ has talked of the future. He didn't say that I have stopped everything now. The Comforter has to come, the Redeemer has to come, and the Counselor has to come. Then he has also talked, John has said that he has seen visions, and all those things are there. So now what has the comforter has to do? What are the qualities of a monk? He is a comforter, he is a counselor, he is a redeemer.
And so you feel that the opening of this consciousness is now coming at the end of the age of the fish and going into the age of Aquarius, that everything is changing.
Of course, that is what it is. And it has to change, because what happens when you become collectively conscious? I mean, it's a thing now, you have become a human being. So now when you become a human being, your consciousness is different from that of an animal. For example, an animal, if you put him into a dirty lane, he can pass through it. But a human being cannot. Because he has another consciousness. Now this consciousness is so much higher that you become collectively conscious, about which Jung has talked a lot, about collective being. And this is what actually happens. It's the actualization that we should expect. And this is the difference between the Western organized religions and the Eastern unorganized, where the individual has to find something for the betterment of the whole.
The Indians I've not been to India, so please excuse or forgive my naive questions, but I understand that there are temples in India to various deities or different states of consciousness, if you will. And so how is that not organized?
You see, that is not organized. These are built by people around, the village people just organize one temple and have it there, and they have their own things. It's not organized. You may not belong to any temple, you may not belong to any...
You don't pay any dues?
No, nothing. Yeah.
There are no casserole committees?
Nothing.
No ladies' aid society?
No, nothing like that.
Nothing whatsoever.
There's nothing like that. But these people are also, whosoever are doing this temple business, are also shallow people. We would not call they are all realized souls. Though they were supposed to be Brahmins, meaning the one who knows the Brahma, the one who is a realized soul, the one who can feel the all-pervading power of God's love, which is of the Holy Ghost, as you call it, that he should feel it. He is a Brahma. He is the one who is a Brahmana. But how many are like that in India? I don't think. I have not met any. They are all very shallow people just doing service in the temple. But they are not taken as something great authorities on religion. See, that just doing cleaning of the temple and all that, and maintenance of the temple. But there is no such organization where they regularly collect your money and give you receipts and things like that. Doesn't exist.
We're listening today to Sri Mataji, an Indian woman who has reached enlightenment and who is coming here in Geneva to speak to people in this area. When will that be? When is your next week? 29th, 30th, and 31st. And she has come to Freely Speaking, where we always seek the freedom of expression of those people who are approaching knowing the universal Holy Spirit in that way. And we thank you for coming here today. Now, in the religions of India, again, I understand, as I have been told, that some people feel that there is something in those religions, whether they, or the different parts of them, whether they are organized or not, that may be keeping the people from each other in different states of consciousnesses or castes, or keeping them in a state of poverty, which would be in contrast with some kind of a vigorous Christianity that once made people get out and dig and work. You've known both sides. Could you speak to that difference?
See, we have no sort of a class consciousness as you have here, really, to be very frank. A poor man is there. Of course, we accept that somebody is poor, somebody is rich. But like a class consciousness that you feel in the Western world, we don't have. We are not conscious of our class. On the contrary, regarded bad manners. Talk about your wealth or to show off your wealth. You see, it's something very traditional in India. Supposing if you are a rich person you have a huge palace as your house, and you have to invite someone to your house. You'll never say that come to my palace, but you'll say come to this poor man's abode, a hut. That's the way we talk, you see. So it's not regarded good manners to display your wealth and display everything. And according to the symbolic expression of our culture is that the goddess of wealth has to have 4 qualities. And one of them is how much she gives in charity. One hand is for charity, one is for protection. How many people, how many students, how many needy people are given protection. Then there are 2 hands, they have got, she has 4 hands. So the 2 other hands have got lotuses in the hand. And pink lotus means warmth, love, how much loving the person is, how well-mannered and cultured he is. And the another quality of the lotus is that it gives abode to a very thorny insect called as rung in India. I have not seen that one here. It's a very thorny black stuff. So it gives comfort and coziness to that thorny thing also. So this is the sign of a rich man. The rich man means that. It doesn't mean the kind of a rich thing that we see, the ego-oriented stuff. Ego-oriented man is not rich according to Indian understanding.
So that the only riches are of the spirit.
Beg pardon?
The only riches are of the spirit.
Of course. And a man who is enriched by, say, spirit is even respected by the kings, even respected by everyone. Even our President of India stood up for me when I went to see him, and he would not sit down. And I said that please make yourself, after all, I'm your citizen. He said, no. Before a saint, what am I?
And yet you combine the qualities of spiritual enlightenment with the wife of a woman. You're married. Your husband is a doctor. Is that correct?
My doctor, no.
No?
He is a Secretary General elected for one of the UN agencies of International Maritime Organization in London.
And on behalf of many other ladies in the audience, may I ask you, does your career in your religious in your enlightened activity interfere ever with?
No, not at all. On the contrary, it is dynamic. It is dynamic. All my husband's friends are my greater friends. And it's dynamic because it is love. It's pure love. And it heals, cures, it gives security. It's the greatest thing. They love me, all of them love me so much.
Does healing come from within or from without?
Within. Only it flows. You see, you don't do anything for healing. It just, it heals. That's all. It emits from you. The energy is emitted and you just get healed. You don't have to do anything about it. Just you get healed.
What makes a man sick?
The imbalances in life. The extreme temperament. For example, fanatics can get terrible diseases like cancer also. Those who have closed their minds to all that is the whole can get into troubles. See, all these things can give you problems, insecurity in life. Then another thing I used to tell these people, they didn't like me in England before, when I told them that promiscuous life and all this perversions of life is very wrong. It will bring out a disease which you will not be able to combat. And they called me Victorian at that time. Mm-hmm. See, English language has certain brandings. One of them was Victorian. It's the most condemned one. And ultimately, now you see there are diseases called AIDS which are coming and they have no cure for that. But if they become Sajogis, if they get their enlightenment, they can be cured.
Please speak to us again of, I didn't quite understand the energy force that you said is at the base of the spine. How does this operate? How do you call it? And you said it just came into being. But if you're just walking around in the street one day, can you get zapped? Or else do you have to be on the path? Or how does that happen?
You see, this force is alive, dormant in the triangular bone. we call it is Kundalini in Sanskrit language.
Would you say that slowly?
Kundalini.
Kundalini. Kundalini.
The Kundala means coils, because it's
Coil.
3.5 coils.
Mm-hmm.
That's a symbol of the eternity. That's why it is 3.5 coils. It has also lots of meaning of 3.5, which is a vast subject. But I'll just say that it is 3.5 coil energy, which is not yet awakened. Now this energy is the energy of our pure desire. All other desires are not pure, except for one desire to be one with the Spirit. Now this pure desire is not yet manifested, so it is still, we call it sleeping. But when it manifests, you become the Spirit, because she passes through the subtle 6 centers that are within you and pierces through the fontanelle bone area, which is the ultimate center, which is the 7th, because the first one she doesn't cross through. And that is the time where, because the seat of the Spirit on top of your head, and he resides in the heart, as soon as she crosses that limit, you start feeling the cool breeze in the hand flowing like a very soothing force.
श्री माता जी, आपके प्यार और आपकी कृपा को सत सत प्रणाम। श्री माता जी के श्री चरणों में नतमस्तक होकर प्रणाम करेंगे और बंधन लेंगे।